Hello, my name is Jennifer McRae. These are some of my favorite cookies, but they're not made with all-purpose flour. Instead, they're made with almond flour. You see, I like to make desserts for people, and I like to eat them as well. But this summer I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, so that meant I had to change my diet. And I really didn't want to give up cookies or sweets, and I don't like using alternative sweeteners. So I did a lot of research and I found out about almond flour. There are people who should have almond flour and people who should never have almond flour. There are differences in carbohydrates between almond flour and regular all-purpose flour. There are different types of almond flour, and there are different ways to use those types of almond flour. So that's what we'll talk about today. So what exactly is almond flour? Well, it's simply put, almond flour is ground almonds that are ground super fine. Are people who should have almond flour, and it's not a problem. If you're on a gluten-free diet, you may use almond flour. If you're on a keto diet, you might use almond flour. If you're on the paleo diet, or if you're diabetic, or if you just want to be on a low carbohydrate diet for whatever reason. However, if you're allergic to nuts, you should never, ever, ever use almond flour. And also be sure that if you're making something with almond flour, you let the people who you're making it for know in case they do have a nut allergy. So as you can see, there are different carbohydrate levels in almond flour versus all-purpose flour. Now, almond flour has 24 carbohydrates, but it also has 12 grams of dietary fiber. And what we look at whenever we see dietary fiber and carbohydrates, we subtract however much dietary fiber there is from carbohydrates. So that means that instead of 24 grams of carbohydrates, there's actually only 12 because you minus the 12 from the dietary fiber. You look at the all-purpose flour and you see that there are 88 carbs in it, but there's only 4 grams of dietary fiber in the same cup. So you don't get as good of a return on minusing your dietary fiber from your carbs. And so that's a good reason to use an alternative flour. Now there are different types of alternative flours, not just almond flour, of course. So you can use coconut flour. There's also macadamia nut flour. There's flaxseed flour. You just use the kind that you like. But there are some good alternatives if you're on a low carb diet. So there are two types of almond flour. There is blanched and unblanched almond flour. And the difference between the blanched flour and the unblanched almond flour is simply that unblanched means that the skins were left on and it was just ground up, and that's it. On blanched almond flour, that means that it was steamed until the skins came off of the flour, and then it was ground up. And there are different recipes you use these flours for. You can use almond flour on the blanched for pies, cakes, pizza doughs. Unblanched is not good for those. Unblanched is good for cookies, and you can use it for breads if you want a little bit of a grainier texture. So that's basically the uses for them. Now you can find good recipes for almond flour on your paleo website or on your allrecipe.com or your favorite recipe site that you go to. Just be sure you notice which kind of flour you need. Now here is the recipe I used for the cookies that I made. And as you can see, I made some changes and adjustments to them. And you can make it whatever way you want. But as you can tell, that it has less sugar in it, and it has the almond flour. The almond flour kind of gives it a nutty flavor, which is great. So that if you like nuts in your cookies, but you don't like what they do because they get stuck in your teeth, this is a great alternative to having nuts in cookies, because it still gets that nutty flavor, but you don't have all the big chunks. So in conclusion, almond flour is a great alternative to your low carb diet, for your low carb diet. If you want to use other types of flour, just do research on them. But again, make sure that if you use almond flour, you let people know, because it can be dangerous.